Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State and Trump's National Security Advisor 2-in-1, I always remind, because what really matters is that he is in these two positions, says that the United States does not support the idea of transferring Donbass to Russia. 1. 2. He explains why there is no need to announce a ceasefire now, because we are already talking about a peace agreement. And 3. Says that the only way to end this war is not to negotiate, but to force Russia to agree. This is a completely different rhetoric. What difference does it make if there was a photo or a carpet if no one is going to do what Russia wants? This is Rubio speaking. He was sitting right next to Trump. Trump, the translator, Rubio, then Witkoff.
Marco Rubio has such a task. He must say such things so that the allies do not run away. And as Minister of Foreign Affairs, he says that the allies should not run away for the time being. He plays an important role as a distraction here. In a sense, this should be done by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's just that when you're Trump's foreign secretary, not only do you destroy your reputation as someone you can ever trust, but you just have to constantly lie and say things you know will never happen and threats that will never happen. But this is the irresponsibility in which we now live, because you can say whatever you want, there will be no price for this shame, because Trump should have fallen through the ground from shame and disgrace for meeting with Putin. But no, it did not fail, because there is no price for this. America did not intervene. Where is America looking? Because America decided to elect Trump. And Trump has made himself Foreign Minister Marco Rubio, who is ready to sell his Cuban community and all his immigration past. Maybe he's afraid that Trump will repeal the Constitution Amendment, and Marco, who was born and is considered a U.S. citizen because of this 14th Amendment to the Constitution because his parents don't seem to have been citizens at the time of his birth, could even be deported. So Marco Rubio is behaving like Marco Rubio, and it's interesting that he's saying things like that, so someone needs it, that Trump thinks it's important that this is said. But the result is the same. We may not want Russia to do something out there, but at the end of the day, Russia will do what Russia wants, because we won't dare and hesitate and won't dare to step in and show that we're the United States, damn it, the States of America. And since it is clear to everyone that we will not interfere, all our threats are empty.
No, they will. He says they will. And Europe says that Trump is a mediator. And Rubio says that there was no agreement on Alaska. And why not? Because, says Rubio, we did not say that it would happen, because this is a war between Russia and Ukraine, and no one will conclude any agreement without Ukraine. Yuriy, no matter how you slice it, is now smashing everything in the Kremlin. It seems to me, and I'm sure now, that Trump is angry and furious, or Bloomer, is really sad, angry, and furious because of what he saw in Alaska. And this is all because of Russia, because Putin broke it off with this Alaska. And it seems to me that now he will not break off for the 105th time, because we still need to turn to Trump's psychotype from narcissists. And if even as a narcissist he loved Putin all his life, and in Alaska he basically got nothing from him, the conditions that Putin had, now this rhetoric of Rubio shows me that tomorrow there will be other conversations, and Putin will no longer be at these conversations.
On the one hand, I really liked, it seems, the correct comment that I saw, where it was said that if Ukraine decided to capitulate, then it would not need Trump for this. I think, how can you capitulate without Trump? Well, if only to lose, then with Trump. But on the other hand, reality is something that has always been against Donald Trump, and this can be easily judged by his makeup. He had dreams. He thought that because he was such a great man, and Putin loved him so much, and he loved Putin so much, then, of course, they would find a common language, and every time he had this idea, this mania arose in his head, and again, as soon as he apparently rested, he woke up with faith in Putin, in the Red Sun, and he believes in Putin to the end, even if Putin beat him like a Sidorov goat. Every time after the the meeting we see Trump crawling away like a beaten dog. It's always like this, it's shameful and sad for us, but he tried, he wanted the best. Why doesn't Volodya agree with him?
Ну, нам позорно и печально, но он хотел, он старался, он же хотел как лучше. Ну чего же Володя с ним не соглашается?
If now he is reminded of everything that he is, the reality is that without Ukraine, there will be no end. Without Ukraine's decision, there will be no end to this war, because Putin does not stop, and Europe will not stop supporting Ukraine, and Europe has very clearly demonstrated and is demonstrating that it supports Ukraine. Then Trump is left, I would say, less pleasant options. Now what will he do? He, of course, will say that Putin is right, Putin is wonderful, Putin is a genius, and Trump has a good relationship with Putin. Accordingly, everything is fine. We have not seen such a construction of idolization in the United States, that the most important thing is that our president has good relations with the president of Russia.
Такого построения боготворения мы еще в Соединенных Штатах не видели. Что есть самое главное, чтобы у нашего президента были хорошие отношения с президентом
I don't think
России.
so.
Well, then we finally got what we needed, but I don't see it here without Ukraine, without Europe, and all this active opposition. This is just an opportunity for Trump to show off next to his loved one, to distract himself from the Epstein case that looms over him, when every time new information pops up there on CNN that the lists of his flights to Epstein Island have been published, there are almost 1 million views. Every time Republican congressmen appear in front of the voter, they are shouted at, called liars, and not only because of the Epstein case.
На остров Эпштейн опубликованы там почти 1 миллион просмотров. Каждый раз, когда появляются республиканские конгрессмены перед избирателями, на них кричат, называют их врунами, и не только из-за дела Эпштейна.
Now we are finishing the second half of August, and Congress should return in September.
В сентябре Конгресс должен вернуться.
It will be interesting, because they will need to discuss the Epstein case, because their voters demand it, and here they have to talk, discuss Ukraine. Trump would very much like us to talk in September about the president's chances of winning the Nobel Peace Prize, given that he has already decided this war, and Ukraine has already made peace with Russia. Look, Zelensky and Putin hugged and are drinking together at the Bruderschaft in Trump's wet dreams. But this will not happen, and it is not happening, and it cannot happen, because the main problem for Trump's dream is that Putin is not going to make a good reality for Trump. This is not something that Vladimir Putin can create for him. And if you could say, you know, Donald, why do you need Putin? We are now giving you such money for a pocket, so we'll gild your pen. Oh, Europe for you, you know, we have such Swiss banks, in general, everything in the world, there, I don't know, whatever. Come on, Donald, come with us with Europe.
Ох, Европа, тебе, ты же знаешь, у нас такие швейцарские банки, вообще все на свете, и там, я не знаю, что угодно. Давай, Дональд, давай с нами, с Европой.
I think that he should not be hit on suppliers, but he should be offered some, how it would be beneficial for him, to drain Putin, to support Ukraine, and this is to intimidate suppliers. Well, who does this, intimidating suppliers? He, Trump himself, can intimidate suppliers. He does not need Europe for this either.
Yura, so why does he need Putin? They don't need it. Rubio also says, if Ukraine does not want to give up the territory, we will not push it. But what does Putin give him? Nothing was offered. No one spoke to his financial bloc. Post-lunch, communication with Kiryusha Dmitriev, Trump's representative, and a private equity head was expected to offer money. Putin brought businessman and finance minister Antosha Siluanova, but no one met with them. Trump seemed uninterested, questioning the need for Putin. If we take the monetary aspect, Trump no longer wanted to listen to anything, apparently. Then why does he need Putin for what?
To finally become the person he has always dreamed of. I think maybe this was Putin's double, who was not able to answer questions or was so happy about life there that he had to fly out of there. But look, when we have democratic leaders, then all other people have some meaning, and when in our country, as according to the law of Khan Arendt, in a totalitarian state, they only take a position and everyone tells Trump how much money he will make, it is clear to him.
Смысл, когда у нас, как по закону Ханны Аренд, в тоталитарном государстве берут на должность только, и все говорят Трампу...
He was ready to fly to Istanbul to meet with Putin, but if Putin is not there, then he does not need Kiryusha Dmitriev, and he does not need lunch, and he does not need the menu. We drop everything and leave, because Putin has come out, and we are leaving. As they met these two loneliness on this bloody path, so they separated. Trump, how to say, it seems to me that he is still more afraid of Putin than he needs Putin, because all this, after all, talk about business projects, everyone wants to gild Trump's pen now, not only Putin, everyone understood that you need to come to him from this door and let him, so to speak, show how good it will be for him, his family, America and so on, but don't think that America is business, America is Trump, just as this is what is good for Russia, it means, of course, it's Putin, that's how Trump looks at it now, so all these stooges around are unimportant, all these contracts around are unimportant, it's important that these two are photographed with each other, so that everyone can see that they are on the same stage, that now Putin can be invited anywhere, because the President of the United States himself is with him, now they drive him in the car, look who I will drink with, as in the old joke, so now Putin rides the presidential monsters and gets a smile and applause from the President of the United States, Putin gets everything from Trump, what he wants.
Потому что с ним сам президент Соединенных Штатов теперь в машине его водят. Смотри, с кем пить буду, как в старом анекдоте. Так что теперь Путин катается на президентских монстрах и получает улыбку и аплодисменты от президента Соединенных Штатов. Путин получает от Трампа все, что
And what
хочет.
can he give him?
And what, on the contrary, what does Trump get from him, does Trump get from Putin?
Трамп получает от Путина.
So far, apparently, there is enough silence. I think that if Putin was in a bad mood for him, then Putin could certainly tell about the Epstein case, because now there is information that Epstein flew to Moscow, and there was communication with someone there, so, perhaps, the very absence of Epstein in a sense in some kind of headlines, this is already something that is an important victory, because clearly in Putin's folders there are several daddies on Trump. One apparently has to do with this Skabrous case, with a terrible case. The second apparently has to do with the participation of Putin and Russia in the elections in the United States. And since Trump remembers them together all the time, says Epstein, and in general this case is about the issue of Russia, so this is apparently an important topic in these folders, and for Putin, as for the destroyer, for the KGB major, it seems to me that he does not need to create something there, they do not create, they destroy, and in this sense, the fact that Trump has not yet been destroyed is a big thanks, so to speak, to Vladimir Putin, who has kept him afloat for many years.
Мне кажется, ему не нужно там создавать что-то. Они не создают, они рушат, они уничтожают. И в этом смысле то, что Трампа еще не уничтожили, это так сказать, большое спасибо Владимиру Путину, который его держит на плаву уже очень много лет.
I just can't understand yet what Putin got, except for the track and photo. No lifting of sanctions, no easing of sanctions, no transfer, no suspension of arms sales, nothing. Putin did not get anything in practice.
But this is the merit of Ukraine, because what Putin and Russia are doing now in Ukraine cannot be justified in such a situation, no lifting of any sanctions. And it is clearly clear that Europe will not lift any sanctions anyway. And as long as Ukraine continues to resist, as long as Ukraine does not capitulate, then this greatly complicates the plans of Putin and Trump, and naturally, this will not capitulate. That is why we see these dreams of these dictators all the time, who are confronted with the reality of either one of them or other participants in this process who are unable to fulfill their wishes. But we see that Putin is putting pressure on Trump, Trump is putting pressure on the Europeans and on Ukraine. And all this brings us back to the same turnip, which you can sit and scratch, watching all this nightmare. Realizing that if it were not for Ukraine, we are now the Supreme Court of the United States, there is little to save us, Congress is trying, the Democrats are screaming like a burnt one. Everyone has already been sent on vacation so that they do not speak, but there is still little the Democrats can do. But Ukraine is on foreign policy, which, it would seem, is what the president as president has decided, so it will be. And now Ukraine alone is interfering with the plans of both Trump and Putin to unite. And this meeting in Alaska did not bring them closer and only showed the strength of their desires, how much they want to be together. But this Ukraine, which is now supposed to come there and must explain everything to Trump how they will capitulate. Because he does not ask for everything, he does not ask there, Kyiv today, in 3 days. No, now he just wants a piece of this territory there, and how long will Putin wait until he wants the whole region, the entire territory? It is clear that this is all temporary, and the Europeans understand this. They understand that there are no security guarantees, and there can be no such president. And probably the only thing we can always understand is that security guarantees and Donald Trump, it only works if you're Vladimir Putin, because then Donald Trump is probably your biggest security guarantee, and as long as you're in the presidential limousine, you won't be hit by a Ukrainian drone.
Гарантии безопасности, и пока вы в президентском лимузине, в вас не попадет украинский дрон.